All right, here's what we did. We took the most popular forms of exercise and we break them down and we compare them so you can decide which one's best for you. What are they? Pilates, yoga, running, CrossFit, and strength training. We're going to talk about the history, the demographics, the pros and the cons. We're going to break it down for you so you can decide what's best for you.
Is this, jazzercise? Is this really top 5?
Yeah.
It is?
Yes, it is.
Interesting.
Yeah, these are the top ones. And I want to open by saying this, and this is just true, okay? The one that you're most likely to do consistently, the one that you enjoy the most is the best form of exercise. So regardless of what we say, what I don't want to do is I don't want to discourage anybody. I don't want you to you love yoga or you love play, you've been doing it forever, it's consistent, and then you listen to this and we tell you the cons, you're like, oh, okay.
We're not trying to talk them out of it.
No.
Okay.
Being active, so long as it's appropriate, right? So long as it's not overdone or it's hurting you, is great. That's like 90% of it. Now, the other 10% is the pros and cons. And if you're indifferent, if you're like a lot of people, where you're not really a fitness fanatic, you don't have a huge love for exercise, you're just like, hey, I just want to know which one to pick that's going to give me the best results for what I'm looking for, then this episode will be quite
Listen
valuable.
to the benefits.
And so in other words, I don't want to turn this into like a...
We're not bashing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We have our favorites, but that's based off of, ROI and all that stuff. But again, if you love it and you're doing it and you're not hurting yourself and it's appropriate, go for it and continue doing it.
I think it's a great way to set the table for this conversation, because anytime we do anything like this, where we talk about different modalities, you inevitably piss off somebody who's
of course
so bought into that. And I think that's such a great point that, listen, and I always would tell someone like this, I don't care, name the modality. If you love it, you've been doing it for years, I'm not trying to discourage you from doing it. But if you ask me a question of what's the best this or what, and you ask something like that, and I'm going to...
For a specific result.
Right.
We have an answer.
So I do think this is great. This is really then geared towards people that are looking to get started at maybe one of these want to know what we think is the best.
That's right. So we'll start with Pilates. Now, Pilates exploded in recent times. This really got popular, I would say, probably over the last 20 years. I don't remember it being really a form of exercise a lot of people did.
Where, like LA, or where do you think the origin was?
So let's go with the history. It's actually an old form of exercise. It was actually originated in the early 1900s. There was a guy named Joseph, what was his name? Joseph Pilates. That was his last name.
Oh, hey.
And he was a frail child. He had asthma, rickets. He was by the way, a lot of the origins of exercise methodology start with somebody who had to solve their own health problems.
Yep.
And this was one of them. And his physical foundation or philosophical foundation, he believed in good posture. He talked about strengthening the powerhouse, which was the core, which is kind of cool. Back in the early 1900s, he was talking about the core musculature and how important it was. When that didn't start happening in mainstream fitness for a long time. It wasn't until the 90s people even said.
Oh yeah, I was going to say 80s, but probably 90s.
Yeah, he was inspired by Greek statues. He liked balance, and so he developed this form of exercise. And it was actually used. He actually used it to rehabilitate people, soldiers in particular, World War I. So he was interned in England as a German national, and this is when he started using it to help people strengthen their bodies, and he would use bed springs so he understood resistance training. Yeah, he just used bed springs as a way to strengthen.
As a way
people.
To load, or how,
yes?
How would you use the springs to load?
Because they're the resistance. That's right. Okay. Not lifting them, but rather using them.
That makes no sense.
Like a resistance band.
Okay.
In essence, it didn't start taking off till later. This was when his studios were near dance studios, and dancers really took to Pilates. So if you're familiar with Pilates and the movements, it does mirror the movements and the lines that you'll see in a lot of dance.
It makes sense because core and posture are at the foundation of why he did this.
And long lines, right? Pointing your toes and doing certain positions. Like dance is very technical. It's not just strength. You have to have the technique. And so Pilates it was like a perfect segue into this space. And that's really how it got popular.
Yeah. Also, I would make the case too that especially, 30 years ago, that look was a look that a lot of women wanted too.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember getting clients that I like the dancer look, the long muscle bellies, lean, tall. I think that was like someone would describe that as a look they wanted to aspire to. So it makes sense that it was rooted in core posture. It attracted dancers, and that dancer look was a look that for many years or even decades, women would aspire to look like.
I'm so glad you said that. So we're going to dispel a myth right now. When you look at top performers or athletes in any given field, what you're looking at is a person who's genetically built to do well at that sport, plus their training. So in other words, you look at top swimmers, what you always see are shorter legs, broad backs, wide shoulders, flatter rib cage. Now that doesn't mean swimming will make you look like that. It just means at that level, what you're going to find at that level
fits their body type best.
That's right. So training with Pilates isn't going to make you look like a Russian ballerina. It's not going to create long muscle bellies. That's all genetic.
No different than CrossFitting's going to not make you look like the top CrossFitter.
That's right.
Or the best runner or said modality. So this applies to any...
Even bodybuilding, right? You can train like a pro bodybuilder. You're probably not going to look like a pro bodybuilder because they were born to look a particular way, and then they enhanced it with training. Now, the demographics of Pilates, as you would probably guess, about 60 to 75% female.
I actually would have guessed even higher.
I know, I would too.
If you made 90%. Me guess, I would have said higher.
I would have thought higher too.
Interesting.
I haven't known, I don't think I've known a single guy, maybe one who did some Pilates, but not consistently. But when I looked up the demographics on, and I looked it up online and what they report, it's about 60 to 75%.
Interesting.
I would say probably 75%.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I've gone to some Pilates studios. I had a couple trainers that worked for me that also taught it, and they invited me to classes, and I was like the only guy in
I'm
class.
not as familiar. I know. So did bar come after that? Is because of it's like a combination of that with dance?
No, bar came out. As far as I know, bar came out.
It came after, but
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
And I know they're similar.
They're similar, but just...
Now the other demographic,
they're kind of not
dance posing.
They're kind of very different.
Similar in the way they advertise themselves.
Okay, maybe advertising wise, but the training is way different. Yeah. Pilates use a reformer and
although you have mat Pilates, there's Pilates that's done on a mat without a reformer. Now the other demographics, about 40% are between 30 to 50. 35% over 50. It's an actually older demographic.
That makes sense too.
Than other forms of
Especially,
exercise.
again, going back to core posture focused. I mean, remember training a lot of advanced stage clients. Most clients, not all, but most clients in advanced stage care more about posture and chronic pain and how they feel opposed to how they look.
That's right.
So they're aware that getting into this may not be the best form to build a bunch of muscle, but if it makes them feel a lot better, then so that makes a lot of sense.
And we'll get there because I think there's some reasons why. It's a higher income demographic. Pilates classes, especially reformer classes,
is it expensive?
Expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a higher income. Now, here's why I think you see the older demographic go towards Pilates. One of the pros of Pilates is it tends to not be an over-intensified form of
low
exercise.
risk, very low risk.
It's low risk, and although Pilates can be intense, so I know people, Pilates instructors like, you come take a class.
Don't misrepresent what I said. Low risk as in easy. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Low risk is a good thing. It means that you're less likely to injure somebody doing something like that.
And an intense Pilates class tends to be less stressful than an intense run. Or definitely less than intense CrossFit, right? It tends to produce less stress in the body. So people in that age group, 30 to 50, this is like the most stressful time of your life. Kids, you got mortgage, and it's not going to beat the crap out of you like other forms of exercise might actually promote. It is good for joint stability because of the shortened movements, the lengthened positions. So it is good at creating stability around a joint. Now the cons, it's not a great athletic performance builder. Doesn't really build a lot of muscle and strength. I know Pilates will advertise as building strength. The strength that you build from it is pretty specific to the movements, and you don't get a lot of carryover like you would with other forms of exercise.
Well, especially when you are comparing it to the other modalities that we're going to talk to.
That's right.
Or talk about. I mean, aside from running and yoga, it's probably ranked at the low. In fact, if you were to rank those, did you do that? Did you rank like?
We could talk about that as we go through.
I think we should as we go through, since you bring it, because obviously building muscle and performance is a a key goal for most people,
Yeah,
right?
even if you want fat loss, muscle building is great for fat loss, right? So, and it's not a great fat loss form of exercise, but I will say this: most forms of exercise, if not all of them, are not great quote unquote fat loss. It's typically diet that plays the biggest role. So even the best form of exercise for fat loss, which we'll get to, which is strength training, if you don't really work with your diet, it's going to be difficult to lose a lot of body fat because diet plays the biggest role. It's got good group support. You'll find this with all the group classes. A lot of people thrive on that, that social component. I'm not one of those people, but for a lot of people, what gets them to show up, that's right, is the group. There's people in there. And then we said core stability. But when it comes to muscle building, athletic performance, stamina, it's pretty limited in that sense. So I would say those are the biggest cons. Today's program giveaway is MAPS Powerlift. If you want to win, leave a comment below this video. In the first 24 hours that we'll drop it, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. If you win, we'll let you know in the comment section. Also, there's a sale going on right now. MAPS 15 minutes is half off. Head over to maps15minutes.com. Use the code MUSCLE50 for the discount. Here comes the show. Then we get to yoga. Now, yoga is interesting. It's a very old practice. Very, very old practice. It was originally designed as a form of exercise and movement to help people meditate longer. So people did yoga because
that was the origin of it.
The origin was, can I sit in this, meditative position or posture for hours and hours and hours and hours at a time? And yoga was designed to be able to do that for people. So that's really the origin of it. It didn't become a form of like workout or exercise where it was separated from the yoga, the spiritual practice of yoga that was connected to meditation until much later. This got popular probably, I remember hearing about it in the 90s when we were training, and then it really started to take off.
Yeah. Well, you would say after that even, huh? I remember it being popular. Wasn't it in the 80s or 90s when the popular yogi guy that got really like famous?
Oh, that was like the cult leader?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I remember, so even like the Beatles made their travel to India and then had this whole experience. And I think, I have to feel like some of the culture from that in the 70s kind of maybe brought it over and then started to kind of build traction.
That was less yoga, more
spiritual.
Yes, that was about meditation and the kind of the spiritual aspect. In fact, if you go to yoga classes today, they often will include that still, where there's an intention. And so there's still that spiritual kind of practice. Now, yoga has gotten very westernized. You have power yoga, strength yoga,
hot yoga.
Yeah, you got yoga with weights because it's so
yoga.
Yeah. And that's what the fitness industry does. It'll take something popular and then turn it into something completely different.
Payo, to combine the last two.
Yeah, that's Pilates and yoga.
Yeah, puppy yoga is I'd be up for that.
Yeah, the demographic, 70% female. This is mostly female, 55% 18 to 34 years old. It is a higher income. Yoga studios are expensive.
That's it. That's 18 to 34-year-olds.
It's a majority. Yeah. Okay. You have a wide range, but a majority are between 18 to 34.
It's younger than I would anticipate.
Yeah. So did I. I thought it might have been a little bit older.
Yeah.
But it's in that age group. And it brought us. I mean, here's how popular yoga is. Yoga brought us an entire category of workout clothes. It did.
I know, yoga pants.
Oh yeah, I mean, Lululemon was connected to yoga, and then it became like a thing. Now this is like a clothing, a piece of clothing people wear all the time.
Generally speaking, I'm a big fan of clients doing yoga. In fact, clients that I had that were already doing it, I complemented strength training so well.
Yes, it's a great form of exercise to complement others.
Yes, and so anytime I had a client doing it, I always encouraged them to continue doing it. And this is even before my knowledge around mobility practices and corrective work that we started to do later in our career and understand, which I would argue is just a more specific type of yoga, right? Where you're doing very specific movements to that client based off of their needs and their issues, right? So, but it does such a good general stroke of movements that, and I think this is why it does so well, is most people will go to it and benefit from it. They'll do it and go, oh my God, I feel amazing.
It addresses what I saw as a trainer, like coming. One of the biggest problems I saw is like a lot of people just aren't in their own body. And, you know, it really like builds that body awareness and that intrinsic control. And so to be able to have control, to hold poses, to understand, you know, all these ranges of motion you don't express and like how important they are. I think it's great.
That's such a good point, Justin. You're taking me back to remembering like new clients that I would get that were like big into yoga. Like I actually had a much easier time teaching exercises and movements to clients that had a yoga background.
That's right.
They have great cueing.
Yes, because they cued really well.
Very good cueing.
They understand core really well, and stability. Like, and those are foundations to strength training principles.
Yep.
So if you have good, strong core, you have good mobility, good range of motion, good connectivity. That translates really well, and good cueing, right? It translates really well.
And we're talking to traditional like vinyasa flow, maybe even yin yoga, but more of that vinyasa flow. And Justin, what you said was so right. Like a good yoga instructor, it's not stretching. Some people who've never done yoga think, oh, you're just stretching. No.
Yeah, no.
You are intentional. And the instructors cue you in a particular way, but the cues they'll use is we'll say things like draw your energy out against the mat, or pull this in here, or tuck here.
Yeah.
And so you're right, it really does, and that's good for flexibility. Obviously, here's the biggest pro with yoga: it tends to be recuperative, at least the traditional forms.
Yeah.
Now you can go do power yoga, which I don't even consider yoga. That's just you're trying to make it something else.
You know, that's probably a good argument, Sal, for also why it gained its popularity when it gained its popularity.
Totally.
Here we are on the rise of stress, technology, all these things like that.
Whereas other forms of exercise glorify beating the crap out of yourself. They'd go to yoga and they'd feel good.
What a good point. Probably a big reason why it had such a rise in the last couple decades. And
it's the form of exercise I would recommend to my clients who wanted to do more activity, but who also I identified were just, the stress is too high.
Yeah.
It's too high to have you go do.
Which was super common for all of us in the Silicon Valley.
That's right.
Being in the Silicon Valley, you got a lot of, you know, men and women that grind high stress type jobs. Yoga seemed to be a really good answer to.
Totally. And it's not uncommon. So, and I know this. My wife was a yoga instructor and I did it for a little while. Like you go in these classes, it's not uncommon to see people get emotional in a yoga class because they're in their body. Yeah. These are people who push everything out all the time at work, stress, go, and then they're in there and they're focusing on their breath.
Feeling everything.
And they're slowing down and you see people crying next to you.
I know.
The interesting point to be made here is that it's still 70% female.
Yes.
I would make the case that far more men would benefit from this.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know,
totally.
I think that this isn't a thing that it's flipped on who's attracted to it.
Yeah.
In fact, I would make the
naturally
case,
good at it. Men are like,
I would make
struggle.
the case that a large portion of my yoga females would benefit from moving a little bit away and more strength and exercises that stress the body a little bit differently. And more of my men that would probably benefit from that.
Now, it's not a great way to build muscle. It's not a great way to build athletic performance. You get some strength stamina a little bit. And if you do yoga a lot, and you don't combine it with strength training, you can actually, in some areas, cause instability because of the positions that you're holding for a long period of time. I've had yoga instructors who've had hip issues that hired me to do strength training with them to solve some of those hip issues. Next up is running, probably the most popular form of exercise for decades.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still is.
Yes. And the history of running.
This is the ready, set, go. I'm going to get in shape.
That's it. And the history of running, I mean, I don't know. How far back can you go? Running's interesting because it's the one physical activity that humans actually outperform almost any other animal at. Okay. So if you were to look at humans physically, we're pretty weak. Like you put us out in the wild and you have us compete against other animals, we're going to get our butt kicked. One thing that we do better than most is run for distance.
Run for distance and throw.
And throw. That's the other one, right? Yep. But running for distance is, we're actually built, you can argue we're built to run. We have these big knee joints, these huge glute muscles.
Huge
you look
butt.
at other primates, they have these tiny little glutes. We have these big glutes. We're on two legs. Evolutionary scientists would say it was because we evolved to become apex predators. That's so we could throw and out-trek or outrun animals. There was an old race. I don't know if they do it anymore, but there was a race where a human would race a horse for distance, and 50% of the time the human would win. which is pretty wild
crazy.
when you think about that because of our ability. And we sweat, so we could really, let off heat really well. This is a 50-50 male female. It's really split with the demographic. 60% are between 30 to 49. Definitely that older.
Older, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, why I think this is? I think it's because there's a myth with running. And I just sold the myth a little bit by saying we were built to run. There's a myth that it's a very simple, basic, you don't need a lot of technique, just go run.
I think the age thing speaks more to the famous book in the 70s.
That's the running revolution.
Yeah. I mean, that was the 70s, mid 70s or late 70s when that was, Doug?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that time. So that would put most of these people in their, 40s that would probably have read this book. Maybe some of them in their 30s now.
Complete book of running. 1977.
Yeah. 77. Yeah.
Yeah, there was that book.
That was a huge moment in time, right? Because prior to that, you wouldn't just see people running on the street.
No, unless you were in like LA or something. And then suddenly everybody started running. Running shoes exploded. Rocky came out, by the way. That was another movie that really pushed, running to the forefront.
Yeah.
So you're probably right. But I think the other reason is people look at running. They stopped running when they were kids. Then they become 44 or 38 and they're like, oh, I need to lose weight. I think I'll just go work out and I'll just go run. And there's a myth around that because although our bodies are built to run, if you stop running for a long time, you don't know how to run.
Yeah.
So
you lose the technique.
Yeah, dude. So it's great for endurance, great for stamina. One of the biggest cons, it's the highest injury risk.
Well, it also
repetitive stress.
I think another point to be made is, and you have it up there, is it's middle income, so it's low barrier. I mean, the moment you decide I need to make a change, I need to get in shape, I need to lose fat, say insert goal, like you literally can lace up your shoes and go outside and start doing it, which I imagine is a huge factor that plays a role because how many people said they were going to go to the gym or said they're going to sign up for Pilates and never showed up?
Yeah.
Because they had to go find a class, they had to go pay the bill.
This is like, I'll just run whenever.
Yeah, it's just like, I need to change. How many people just thought about it and then went and actually just did it right away?
Yes. Again, great. One of the best, if you want that steady state endurance, running is at the top. I mean, any sport that requires endurance incorporates some form of running, okay, as part of their training. That the problem is it's technical. If you don't have good technique and you go run to fatigue, first off, your technique already is terrible. Then when you get tired, technique gets even worse. Yeah. And the injury risk on running is the highest. It's actually the highest injury risk of all traditional forms of exercise. You'd have to go to extreme sports to find higher injury risk. It also promotes muscle loss. If you run a lot, especially combined with a calorie deficit because you're trying to lose weight, your body tries to become a better endurance machine. So it pares down this expensive calorie burning, tissue called muscle. Yeah. So you can end up with this kind of skinny fat type of body that has a lot of stamina and endurance.
Your joints just take a beating.
Yes. And it's also a stressful on the body.
We're not talking about walking right now. This running ends up being a very high stress on the body.
It was the form of it, unless a client loved running and then hired me. If I had a client who's like, hey, I want to also start running, I almost always discourage them. No, don't add running to what we're doing right now. It's going to add too much stress to your body. This episode is brought to you by Legion. They make an incredible egg protein powder. If you can't have dairy, but you want high quality anabolic protein, try their egg protein. Go to buylegion.com/mindpump. Use the code mindpump. You can buy one, get one 50% off if you're a new customer and 20% cash back for returning customers. Next up, we have CrossFit. CrossFit's interesting. This is a newer form of exercise. We were around when it really took off. It was 2001.
And it was here.
Oh, yeah.
When it was Santa Cruz.
Yeah, it was right in my backyard.
Justin's backyard.
That's right. Greg Glassman, who was a gymnast and had understood strength training, a bunch of things. He wanted to create a form of exercise that was multidisciplinary, that kind of gave you everything. And so, he came up with this idea of CrossFit. It's about 60% female, which I find interesting. I thought it would be 50-50.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what it said.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a little bit more women.
I would have guessed more male.
Is that recently or did that swing over the years? Yeah,
that's recent. 40%, the biggest age group that does CrossFit, 25 to 35. Although you have kind of a broad range. Higher income, CrossFit boxes are expensive. Here's what's interesting about CrossFit. It went from being essentially invented to becoming one of the most influential, popular forms of exercise in a in a decade.
Probably the fastest.
It was so influential. Look, we've been in gyms forever. It influenced all strength training.
Yeah.
CrossFit made people squat and deadlift. It made weightlifting a normal thing.
Do you remember Jim Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was even before CrossFit.
Yeah, it was.
So,
that's what they were using. They used for Spartan movie.
oh yeah.
So the original Spartan movie trained Jim Jones, which was like pre-CrossFit.
Really?
Yeah.
That was back, when they just started doing the warehouse thing and like low tech, high effect kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was interesting because I was very much immersed in all of that in terms of unconventional training and also using like tires and, real old school method stuff. And then, the CrossFit just put it all together in one modality.
Back to your point about how much it changed the industry. I mean, it changed the blueprint and the layout of every gym.
That's right.
Like, I mean, even if you were a commercial gym that had nothing to do with CrossFit, you changed your gym because it got that popular.
Squat racks everywhere all of a sudden, bumper plates everywhere. All of a sudden.
Everybody has artificial turf now in their gyms.
That was CrossFit.
Yeah.
Now you might be thinking if you're listening to this, you're like, well, it's because it was so effective. That's not why CrossFit took over the fit. No. CrossFit took
best
over.
In community. They did the best in community.
And this is what people need to understand.
It back.
Yes, this is what gym owners need to understand is that if you want to do great, most important thing you could do is culture. Yep. It's more important than your equipment. It's more important than anything. It's the culture. And CrossFit nailed it with culture.
And they proved
the strongest one out there.
They proved that. They proved they could do a concrete dungeon with no AC, with minimal equipment if they built a good culture, and they did a great job.
Incredible culture.
And credit where it's due, like effective exercises.
Yes.
There was a lot of effective exercise. When you talk about, and I know you're not there yet to get ahead of you, but you talk about building muscle, burning body fat, things that are metabolic. I mean, they win this category so far.
Yeah.
So far, what we've talked about,
they did the best exercise.
Yeah, building the ultimate physique, both metabolically, physically, they win here.
Yeah,
and they did a great job of that.
They did. Now, what are the cons? It is just inappropriate for most people.
Well, there's a reason why this of all the categories goes 25 to 35.
Yeah,
because by about 35 you go like, I can't do this shit forever.
This isn't feeling good anymore.
The culture, as great as the culture is, the one flaw with the culture is its intensity celebrating. It's like beat yourself, go, try.
To the point that their mascot was a rhabdo clown.
It was a clown throwing up. They try to hide that, you know that, right? They try to
of course, that was bad for pub, dude. It was real bad for pub later on.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It was a badge of honor thing, and it's funny because it appealed to a lot of ex-athletes, military, people that
hardcore people.
Yeah, hardcore and crazy, and so it was like, they just wore it as a badge of honor. But in terms of sustainability and all that, I would definitely put a con on there.
I almost always, unless you love it, it's your favorite thing or whatever, I almost always discourage people from doing CrossFit as a form of exercise. And people know that. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
It's just about beating the crap out of yourself. And they got great exercises, great culture. Now, there's a lot of CrossFit boxes now that try to move away from that.
Yeah, but that just proves your point right there.
Right.
Even more. It's like it's a lot of times anytime we mention that, we always get somebody who DMs and pushbacks. Well, mine's different. It's like, well, then it's getting less CrossFit. That's why.
Yeah, like Hyrox is like the light version. Of it now.
They over time, I think they've listened and they've seen, and so you have and kudos to the owners that are modifying and changing it to make it better. You know what I'm saying? It still does. Just for the listener, it does not equal a superior way of strength training. It's not by any stretch of the means at all. And there's a reason why it's attracted to the young man and woman's game, because you're a little more resilient at that age and you can handle that beating at that high of a level. So that's right. Not ideal. That'd be the cons. It's just inappropriate for most people.
Right.
I mean, just almost every client. And I remember going through this, long before it became trendy and everybody else. Justin, guys like me were in our gym doing this before it was popular. And I mean, and that was in my 20s. And so I thought it was fun and cool, but I never took that and went like, I'm going to train my clients this way. Like, I'd already trained enough people to know like, I can't train.
I don't have a single client that this would be right for.
It didn't make sense for general pop at all.
It didn't at all. I was just like, this is when I looked at my client list, I'm like, Karen is not going to do that. So I was like, she'll never come back if I do that to her.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Last, we have strength training. The history of strength training goes back really far. There's evidence of gladiators using resistance to build their bodies up. It didn't turn into like the kind of strength training that we know until the like late, early 1900s, when you saw kind of the golden, what they call the Bronze Era. Yeah, where they made barbells and dumbbells and kettlebells. So strength training's been around for a little while. It's about 50-50, male, female, which is awesome.
Which is cool because it was like 80-20 when we were trainers.
Yes. In the 90s, you go in a free weight area and there was like
80-20, 90-10.
Easy.
It was easily that.
Super easy.
So that's a really cool stat to see. That
huge swing. 50% between 18 to 34.
Which is also cool too. Yeah. So two big stats I saw when you wrote that up there that I thought was really interesting because I hadn't looked at this in a long time. The fact that it's a 50-50 split between male and female is so awesome because that was a definitely major flip-flop, or like 80-20 or 90-10 men when we first started. And then even as young as 18, so 50% are 18 to 34. So this is the youngest, which is a really cool sign and does sound like the message is getting out.
It is. Now, the pros, I mean, for ROI, right, return on investment, what I mean by that is the time spent with the results you're going to get. If the results you're looking for are health, longevity, body composition change,
strength, metabolic,
nothing beats strength training. Nothing. And one of the reasons why is it's the most individualizable form of exercise of all the ones we talked about. CrossFit is a style. Yoga is a style. Pilates is a style. Running. Strength training is so modifiable.
Right.
It's used in rehab with people who had terrible injuries or deconditioned. You can do it for athletic performance with super athletes. You can do it for bodybuilding. It's incredibly individualizable. And it's funny because of when you look at the age demographics, of all the forms of exercise, it's the most appropriate for every age group.
Yeah.
If you were to give me a child and tell me, I would do a form of strength training. If you were to give me an really old person, it would be a form of strength training.
Yeah. Strength
training is so individualizable. It's great for muscle and fat loss. For aesthetic change, you want to change the way your body looks. It's as close as you can get to being a sculptor. With your body.
I think that's such an important point to really nail home too, because at least in my experience, most of the clients that hired me or came to me wanted to sculpt their physique. Whether they said it that way or not, that's what they were trying to do. When someone comes in and says, I want to lose as much body fat as I can and build a body, or I have these body parts they are not happy with and they want to look a certain way, that's sculpting.
Right.
Like that's what sculpting is, to take a body part you're unhappy with and develop it, or lose body fat in areas, or not look a different way, all the above. Like that's strength training.
That's right.
I mean, that's true strength training right
I think what really, it leaped beyond just like what people used to think of it mainly as like bodybuilding or like an athletic pursuit, where now people are realizing for just everyday average person and their health concerns, this addresses it better than all the rest of them, because building muscle, we realize like the fact that we're under muscled is contributing to a lot of these ailments that we see.
If you were to do 1 hour of exercise a week and you wanted the biggest return for health and longevity, nothing comes close to strength training. Just for health and longevity, not bodybuilding, not powerlifting, but just for longevity. That's what the data shows us.
Now, the biggest con of this, of all the ones we've listed, this is the one that you probably want a trainer.
That's right.
To teach you and go through, because all the rest you could lace up and even though you probably shouldn't lace up your shoes and go for a run, but even a CrossFit, you go to a class, there's instruction and other people, where with strength training, and some people make the mistake, just like lacing up the shoes and going running, of just going to the gym and start doing a bunch of exercises. But this one, you want to probably have someone professionally put something together for you to reap the most benefits.
Because it's so the pro of it being so individualizable, so modifiable,
is also the con.
Right. It also requires workout programming. I mean, if I were to list every strength training exercise or every exercise that could be used for strength training, I mean, it'd be a list that would be thousands of exercises long. Each one can be performed differently depending on what you're looking for.
Each one can be regressed or progressed.
Then there's programming that includes reps and sets, and then you look at the week and rest periods. And it's just like, what do I do with all this? Yeah. So the con is it requires the most instruction. But I will say this, and this is why the number one form of exercise used by trainers is strength training. It's because it's so effective, but also because that's where you need a trainer.
Yeah.
So if this is what you're interested in, invest in a coach or a trainer for a short period of time, a couple months, few months, and get those basics down. And then the ROI is just absolutely.
Just keep building from there.
That's it. Look, if you like our podcast,